Welcome to our Portuguese Table podcast. I'm Maria Lawton, the Azorean Green Bean.
And I'm Angela Simoes, and we're just two chicks dishing about Portuguese food, culture, and what it means to be Portuguese.
So grab a glass of vinho or un copo de café and join us as we talk about our favorite foods, reminisce about growing up Portuguese,
and interview some of our community's most successful chefs and food writers.
So sit down at our Portuguese table.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Our Portuguese Table. I'm Angela and Hi Maria.
Hi Angela. How are you, honey?
I'm good. You know, it's funny. I feel like every time we're recording one of these, we're saying, oh my God, it's been forever. And our listeners really don't know the difference because they have no idea how often we talk to each other. But it's kind of funny how we go these long, bouts of not talking to each other.
It's true. We're going to do another separate podcast on how our summer went, but a lot has happened during the summer.
A lot has happened.
So what we did is, and we'll tell you about that after, but you all know that Angela was expecting at the time, and she's had her baby, which is amazing. So we're going to talk about that in another episode. But it's true because we recorded a lot of stuff in the beginning of the year because we knew you were going to go on maternity leave. So it's been a while. So we have so much to catch up on. But what I'm really excited about today is that last year, we wanted to interview this special lady, and she was just too busy for us, way too busy. and I get it, because I follow the store, I follow it on Instagram, I follow it on Facebook, I love everything they have there, and I kind of I drool over everything and wish that I lived around the corner because I think I'd be one of your best customers. So I'm so excited that she finally had a little bit of time to kind of squeeze us in between all of the other things. So welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going ahead, but I really am. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So Nancy Fernandes, Fernandes, if you will, owner of Saudade Toronto, which is a store. If you haven't seen it yet, listeners, let me just tell you, you need to go on Facebook and on the website, and you're going to want to throw away every dish you have, you have, and just buy everything new because holy crap, it's so nice. Really, you've done. I can't wait to hear about. I'm looking forward to hearing your story and how you put it all together because, we go to Portugal and go into some of these stores and you're like, oh God, I want to buy everything. But it literally is true. I'm looking at all these pictures of your store and I'm like, do I have $3,000 to drop on a store? Because I want to buy everything, right? So Nancy, let's paint the picture for our listeners. Where are you from? How did you get started?
Yeah. Who is Nancy? We want to know who is Nancy?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and congratulations, Angela.
Thank you.
Having a child is incredible and also the hardest job in the world.
Yes,
so congratulations.
Thank you.
So for me, oh my goodness, it's so layered. The reason I might have been really busy last year, I'm a high school teacher and I was doing that.
This is your hobby. That's nice.
No, oh my gosh.
Okay.
So I'm at the moment on an unpaid leave this year. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, well, actually the story goes way back. The story goes, my parents met in Toronto and my dad's from Minho. He's from a small, beautiful town called Garf, which is near Póvoa de Linhoso. And a lot of my uncles live in Guimarães, a few family members in Braga, in Porto. And my mom is from Baixo Alentejo. So I spent all my summers, like a lot of other children from immigrants, going to Portugal for the summer. And I would, luckily, because my parents were from extreme ends, I would go 1 month to the south. We would travel through Portugal, and back then there weren't any highways, and to go and see my family in Minho and, make the trek back. And as a result, I was able to see a lot of Portugal at a very young age and see the beauty. And my mom, who's always had impeccable style, would go to every market, every factory. And so design has always been a part of my life. So then here I am as a teacher, and I love my job, and I teach at a high school, and I was extremely 20 years. It was coming up to 20 years, and I was every time a student I was in guidance, part guidance. Every time a student would sit down, they would say, "Miss, I think I want to study interior design," and all of a sudden I'd be like, "Oh, maybe I can study interior design."
Yeah.
So I knew at some point that I had another desire to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had another, we all do. We're all so, there so much makes up each one of us. And there's so many things that each human being, if given the opportunity, so many wants and needs and desires. So
we have many layers.
Yes, exactly. Many, many layers. So that was towards the end, but, so throughout my decades, the different decades, when I was in university, people would stop me, friends in my class, and would be like, "Where'd you get your bag? Where'd you get your shoes?" And I would be like, Portugal. And sometimes people would be like, "Oh, where's that?" And I'd be like, "Really?" Because I'm like, "Oh my goodness." But I realized, other like France and Italy, all these other amazing, incredible places, their products were being promoted, and people were aware of visiting these other, countries and cities within these countries. And there were some throughout the world, which there still are, where, people weren't very familiar with. So when I bought my first place, friends would come over and be like, where is your rug from? Where are your dishes from? And I'd always be like, Portugal. And I always, wanted people to showcase the beauty and the talent that existed in this beautiful little country that's so diverse, from the north to the south, to São Miguel, to Graciosa, to, Madeira. So it started with quite a few years ago with a group of friends. And I approached, two of my best friends and said, "Hey, what do you guys think about this idea?" And, at that time in our lives, we were all had our full-time jobs, and the timing wasn't right. And eventually, I would walk the streets of Toronto, and I would always look out for rent. And I always had this dream to showcase these artisans and the beauty. And I wanted people to see, Portugal, all the talent it has. And eventually I saw a for rent sign, and I called, and it was the first time that the rent that was told back to me. I thought, oh, this may be possible. And it was in Little Portugal in Toronto, in, an incredible neighborhood that, has a lot of character, and it is gentrifying, but it still holds a lot of the core, of the Portuguese first businesses, and it's very demographically well represented. So things just, the stars aligned. And I am owner, and so is my best friend, who I met in high school, Fatima Santos, who's from Graciosa. And so it's been over 3 years, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow, it's been 3 years already.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's been it's going on 3.5.
Wow. And I'm listening to all this, and you can't see, but I have a huge smile on my face. I am so happy that you've done what you're doing, because being Portuguese is something that, I know the three of us talking here, and our listeners, being Portuguese, whether we're first or second generation, being Portuguese, gosh darn it, is really something that is very special.
Yeah.
And we know it. We know that feeling of who we are and how special that is. And you're so right. We are so talented. There is so much artistic talent within us and within our community. And for us to be able to showcase all of that talent is by also promoting who we are, and that is being Portuguese. Mm-hmm. And it goes hand in hand. And I think you being in Little Portugal, which I happened to be there a couple of years ago, and it was over 3 years ago that I was there. Wow, it's time for me to go back again.
Yes.
I really loved Toronto. And when I was in Little Portugal, I I felt like I was like, of course I felt like I was at home because everything was there and everything was really, and the people that were just amazing and fantastic. And I loved everything about it.
Thank you.
So I think that's the absolute best area to have it in.
Yes. It was definitely important to, like, I felt really lucky when we were able to find the space we did and to be, I mean, even though
very serendipitous.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was the right feeling. And, I mean, I knew nothing about opening a business. I knew nothing about importing. So it was a definite, I've learned a lot, which is incredible because, it's kept me alive, meaning learning, I think, is always the greatest way to keep your life exciting. Mm-hmm. And it's done that. And the people I've met, the people that within the Portuguese community, the stories I've heard, I even get emotional, sorry. Because
we do too, so it's incredible.
Okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I cut you off.
I'm Canadian. When I'm going to apologize and say sorry a few more times. I remember this, to see, elderly men come in and stop where we have our wooden toys and tell me stories, or get all teary-eyed and tell me stories of their youth, of their childhood, or, ladies in their 80s who come in to buy Ben Amor, the face cream and the lotion. And I remember the first day I opened, this lady crossed from the bakery, came in, and she looked, she left, and initially I went upstairs and said, "Hi, can I help you?" And then she left, and then within 15 minutes, she walked in with a group of her friends, all in the same age group, and in her purse, she took out a Ben Amor tube, and she said to me, she goes, "I left Lisbon 50 years ago, and this was the last time I used this on my face." She goes, "Thank you, right, for bringing this here," right? And it's those stories that are
how awesome is that? How awesome is that? I think that is just fantastic. And how can I explain it? You know how when we grow up and we're surrounded by it all. We grow up in it. We're immersed in the whole thing. And there are some people who live in it and are like, I don't want anything to do with this when they're growing up. And
right.
And they see the Portuguese stores and they're like, I have it at home. I don't want any of that stuff, whatever. And then, you start losing people, or you get older. Let's put it this way. You get wiser and you get older, and you realize all of those things that surrounded you that you miss, or that brings back amazing memories of your childhood. For me, when I see montage, that to me means, oh my God, anytime I still have my manta that was on my bed when I was little. I have that. Mm-hmm. And I have my parents' manta, and my sisters wanted nothing to do with it. Even to this day, they're like, "I really don't care about that. You can have it." But for me, I see more than just that was a bedspread that was or a blanket that was on my bed. I see that as a work of art. I see that as a work of art.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that's great about what you're doing, Nancy, too, and I think, other stores and other people that sell things online, there are those traditional things that, bring back those memories. But then to those people who maybe are like, "Oh, I don't like that. My grandmother had that. It's not really my style." But you are showcasing the modern side and the different side of Portugal, which is just as beautiful and creative. Yes. And also has very much the feeling of Portugal, which is, it's amazing to me how that can be, right? How it can be modern, but still reflect the character of the country. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yes.
And the pieces are, whether it's dishes, whether it's a handbag, whether it's linens, all the different things that you're carrying are just so beautifully done. So I'm curious, first, how do you do your buying, right? Like, do you have to go to Portugal, darn it, and do the scouting for new things? Do people contact you and say, "Hey, I'd like to sell my stuff in your store"? And then you mentioned learning about importing things like that. how do you get around in not charging exorbitant amounts for things? Because I think, out here in California, that is a big challenge for us because we're so far from Portugal that when you start to import stuff, the taxes, the shipping, and by the time you get it here and then mark it up for retail so that you're actually making a profit, things are so expensive that people are like, I'm not paying that. Right. So I'd love to know, I'd love to know how you do your buying, and then also like, how have you gotten around the whole pricing thing?
Everything is, the buying has started years and years of, like I said, of always just loving design, following, like I studied design magazines, like sometimes they should have been my textbooks where, and anytime in UK Decor, or if it's, Vogue Italia, I see a Portuguese name mentioned, and I would like Google.
Cut it out.
Thanks
You've got
the technology. Right.
Like
and just,
Angela.
Yeah. It does.
And just, go through that. But I've been I love to travel. Been very fortunate that I've had opportunity to travel a lot. I went to live in Japan. I lived in Japan for 2 years. I traveled a lot. And through my travels, I came across a lot of Portuguese products. And constantly going back to Portugal and having this passion for design, I would show up at like talks, or I would see, an article, or I would go to a market, or and so every single product we carry, we have met the person who makes it.
I love that.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, we have met, like we import, we have a relationship with them. So when it comes to, it's a lot, finding and buying, as I've learned, it's a lot of research. It's like putting your research skills to the test, and it's groundwork. I do go to Portugal now, probably twice a year for sure. I have gone 3 times a year because there are different seasons, and it's so hard, right? It's so hard for me. It's important that I see the process. It's important that I meet a lot of the stories that I've learned. A lot of the up and coming artists, a lot of the traditional places like Saudade that, has been since the late 1800s. For me, even today, the process is still important. I still want to know that they're respecting tradition, they're respecting humans, and that they're respecting, Portugal has always been rich in production and how they make products. Like I once read an article where they stated that a lot of the design houses go to Portugal to get like quality stitching done, to get, because the skill set is high. So you don't find, at least it's not what we're interested in. I don't find mass production. I find kind of boutique production in Portugal. So that's been a lot of, through my years of traveling, through my years of going back home, now, just getting into a train or getting into a car and hitting a town and having conversations, which is also the beauty for me, because it's the stories are important. The stories of the collaborations between generations. And Portugal in 2007, was hit very hard financially, economically. So the stories that have come out of that, the resilience, the meeting of, a 20-year-old with a 70-year-old and the creation of that new product has been phenomenal and really inspiring. So that's been, a large part for me, that connection, making sure a product is being done really well, seeing that, and it's, following. Yeah, I still buy, 5 magazines a month. I still, everywhere I travel, I go and make sure, I visit and I look for colors and I look for, things that may be, up and coming. But, it's really about quality. It's really about relationship, and it's really about, doing your groundwork. So that's been so incredible because of the relationships that we formed. It's been really beautiful.
That's nice. I'm going to keep saying this, but for those that, and I know Angela said the same thing, if you haven't seen Saudade Toronto, Facebook page, their Instagram pages, you need to do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just beautiful. And it really is that Saudade, it's that absolute thing of looking and going, that sigh of, oh yeah, That's so cool, you know, and it's true. It's absolutely true. And what you're doing is incredible. I love everything about it. And
thank you.
And the thing is it's about appreciating, not only loving who we are and where we come from, but also appreciating it also. And
yes,
to see the beauty in a lot of things that is made by hand, and the love that goes into it. And again, we have amazing talent. I can honestly say, now, of course, I go to the Azores all the time, and I especially go to San Miguel all the time.
So beautiful.
Beautiful. It is beautiful. And
it's incredible. And those quejadas are very good. From Villa Franca.
Oh my God.
They're very good.
Oh my God. Everything. Yes, I've been there a couple of times this summer for weddings and with family, and I love going back. But every time I go back, there are these little mom and pop shops that are in these small little villages that people have no idea about them. So
that's right.
And there is this one lady that I definitely have to give you her name and her number and all of that stuff because
yes, please.
Because she is a one-woman shop with her husband helping her, but it's her shop. And she has a granddaughter that helps her and so forth. And she actually grows her own linen.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
What? She grows her own linen. So when the first time I met her, I'm like, oh my God, she's the most adorable little thing. And so, of course, I see all the stuff that she's making. And of course, she wants to show me more. And then, and then every time I go back, I go back and I say hello to her and I buy more of her stuff. And because it's incredible what she does. And then one day she says, do you want me to show you what I do? And I'm like, oh, yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. And it's, showing me these plants that I have here. This is linen. And this is
incredible.
The process that I do to get it. And then she, has weaving. She's weaving with her linen that she grew. It's just... It's amazing. So I will definitely make sure you have her.
Yes, please. Yes. I, as you were saying that story, I just also realized that I didn't talk about the cost and the pricing of importing. And one thing that was important for me, and is still important for me, is that it is like products that are made well, or being handmade, hand woven, hand painted, are respecting process, environment. Those things, you need to value them. And so importing is expensive, especially to North America, coming from Lisbon. And I even discovered, or Porto, or whichever port we leave from. And I've discovered recently, I had a friend who was living in Lisbon. He's from Australia, and he is thinking of doing the same concept in Australia. So he's been asking a lot of questions, and he said, can you find out how much it would be one of your loads to Australia and see what the cost would be? And it was half the cost that coming. Oh my gosh. And Australia is way further. So you find out about agreements between countries, and you find out all like the trades, the water, laws and costs and importing. And so in the end, all that affects where you might buy something in Portugal for 10 euros, which is, Canadian dollars, maybe 16. Here you're going to pay probably near 30 because you do have transport and you do have duties. Yeah. And all that, what I've realized is that we also need to value that, value the process and value Portugal, because if, throughout the years, how other countries have marketed their products have given them a reputation of quality. So someone might spend $500 on a chair from Italy, but why aren't our products worth that as well?
Right.
The value,
that's a great point.
Right?
That's a really great point.
And that's what was important, because as I taught my students, and I always feel like a very lucky teacher because my classroom is usually the world, everyone from everywhere. And I wanted my Portuguese students. The one thing they kept bringing up was like, well, I love going there, but it's again, understanding that the pride of being proud and pride does not mean like you're arrogant but knowing that these products are valuable, like what you see there, your grandmother's ceramic piece or the young artist, they should be valued the same way any other product from France or Italy or, Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mind shift. And it was also one thing that has given me a lot of joy is that the design community in Canada has embraced the Portuguese products. So the media has been very kind to us. Even in the States, the media, we were in Washington Post, we were in Good Housekeeping. All that has kind of given people that may have not known about Portugal and their design talent, given kind of validated. So that starts to, allow for certain pieces because you're right. Otherwise, you can't walk in because sometimes I would see the final price and my stomach would turn because I'd be like, oh, I don't want anyone thinking I'm ripping them off. Like I just have to pay, and I'm like, but I can't bring this product in and sell it if it's not this price because I have to pay this and I have to pay that. And so it got to a point where I realized I have to believe in the product and it has to become validated in mainstream for people then to start realizing that the price is actually quite fair and we should still actually expect it to be higher in North America, right? Of course, you can get it at a certain value, but once you put all the other, the structure of importing all those prices, then you have to expect, and it should be okay. It should be because I feel that product should be actually worth more in a way because of all the love that goes and the skill. So that's how, we really try to keep prices fair. We're in this for, we really wanted to showcase and layers, right? I wanted my students, I wanted my Portuguese, the youth of Toronto that are Portuguese, that may be now second, third generation, to feel proud that, their roots are incredible. And I wanted, everyone, like the elderly, to feel proud. And I wanted my Canadian friends and I wanted my friends in the States to know, to value the product just like they valued every other ethnicity. So that was part of our story.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that because I know I forgot to answer that question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a great point that you make because, I mean, I don't know about the community in Canada, but for better or for worse, we're a very frugal community out here.
Okay.
And and so it's like, we're always looking to get the best deal, and even, like Portuguese restaurants that are a little on the high end, there's a segment of the community that's going to balk it. Oh my God, you're going to charge me how much for this dish? And it's not, my grandmother can make it better,
right.
Or my wife can make it better. But then you have the other side of the community. Maybe it's the younger generations, or maybe it's the, people who are, have maybe been here longer. I don't know. And I hope I'm not offending anybody, but you've got another segment that they'll go to a Michelin starred restaurant that's not Portuguese and have no problem. So why wouldn't you go to a Michelin starred restaurant that is Portuguese and pay the same amount? Why would you expect it to be any less?
Because it should be the same, standard, right? Quality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the point that you're making. It's kind of like, okay, well, if we're going to pay, $300 for a pair of Manolo Blahniks, then, why don't we pay $300 for a pair of Josefinas, right?
Yes, that's right.
The shoe brand out of Porto, right?
That's right.
And if you see the shoes and I just bring up Josefina's, the first shoe brand out of Portugal that I can think of, they're beautiful shoes.
Yeah, and
they really are.
Yes.
And so it's not for everybody, and even for me, like there are some things I'm willing to pay for.
That's right.
A little higher end. And there's some things that I'm not, right?
That's right.
Sunglasses is one of them.
That's right.
I ruin sunglasses all the time. So I buy them at the grocery store. I don't pay $500 for sunglasses, because if I ruin them, I don't feel so bad. If I've only
that's right. And it, yep, and that's something at our shop that we've actually worked really hard, is to have all different price points, because we know, certain things are brands, and, they're already, sometimes I will look at the online shop of the brand in Portugal, and I've had people order stuff from our shop from Portugal because our price was less, because they realized it's Canadian dollars, and, and they were like, no, and because there's certain brands, because I know that no one doesn't matter if it's Manolo, if no one knows that they are, like, if no one recognizes the brand, the value, you have to sometimes, or we felt we had to sometimes, lower our margins in order to be able to promote and have someone buy it and be like, oh my God, this is so quality, come back with a friend. And then the brand name starts to grow. And that's what happened when we first opened. A lot of the brands, a lot of our clients, a lot of our friends, the first people that walked in, they didn't know they existed. So in a way, we did have to, make sure that the brand started to get out there. And that's when, the design magazine started talking about certain pieces that we carried. And that obviously starts to give, again, the brand validation, the quality, and you start to realize, like, oh my goodness, this $185 blanket wool merino is probably $400 in most other places. The same quality.
That's right.
Right. The same quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that, but then we knew that we wanted all prices represented. So we work really hard at that, right? Bringing in chocolate, bringing in pieces that we know, you can buy a plate for, $10, but then you can buy a plate for $25, and you can buy one for $35. It's up to you now to choose, right? But choice is important for us.
Yeah, and it's funny you were saying that, because with when it comes to the again, the blankets and all of that other stuff, and what products we have, sometimes we forget we need to keep educating. We need to keep educating our surroundings, whoever that's around us. We need to keep educating people, because I think people go, made in Portugal, whatever, oh yeah, Vavá had something like that, whatever. Really?
Right.
Do you understand all the beauty and the intricate and all of this stuff? I mean, linens. I love Portuguese linens. Our linens are absolutely the most beautiful, softest linens there. Hands down.
Yes.
Hands down. I don't care who you are. You can tell me your sheets are better than. No, I don't think so. And the way that you were talking before about the craftsman, it's looking at something, the way that it's put together, and how many stitches it took to put it together. So if you look at something, right, and it's these large, big stitches that are going on there, that's made quickly, fast, no care. But if you look at something and those stitches are really small, that took more time, that took more energy, that took more love. It is, it's all in the quality of how things are made. And sometimes we underprice our stuff.
That's right. Right? Undervalued. Yeah. The skill that it's really difficult. Like even pottery, I've sat at one of the people who makes pottery for us, and at the wheel, and I was like, oh my goodness, this person a day throws 200 pieces to 300 pieces by himself. Wow. And I could not get, obviously I have no skill, but I can't, how difficult, the precision, like when I was in São Miguel going to Cerâmica Vieira, the precision of detail, the painting, all that is, even though it, like you said, like both of you have said, it may have, just because we are aware of it and we're accustomed to it does not mean it's not difficult to make, right? Because we see it in our grandparents or our parents' home. It's that it was a lot of love and a lot of, care and labor that went into this piece and respect. So that's valuable. That's a lot of value. Yes. Absolutely.
fortunately or unfortunately, I think we literally could have like a 5-hour podcast and then have to have like a second one for another 5 hours. But I have one more question and then we got to get to some of the food stuff,
Yes.
right? So I'm curious, what have been some of the more popular items? Is it like the soaps, the dishes, because you carry a variety of home goods? Yeah.
It's really a very diverse group. It depends on price points. So in different price points, like our soaps, there a lot of the brands we carry are from the late 1800s, still using the same packaging. They're still being milled, and ingredients are beautiful that are being used. I mean, if a company's been around since 1925, or then something's right, and they're doing something good. So the soaps, our blankets, our rugs, our pottery, and it depends on price points. Like pottery or Casa Cubista, then there's Vista Alegre, and then there's Bordalo. Like Bordalo this summer, are the cabbage plates and the cabbage bowls have been within the late 20-year-olds, early 30-year-old demographics. Not only Portuguese, actually mostly not, the biggest wedding gift that has left our shop. So incredible. So again, like from our sardines, our canned sardines, to our olive oil, to Anna Westerland ceramic pieces. So all the unique pieces that are being made. So it's a very diverse, I'm thinking of our top that sell daily, that we, that are, high, but everything is, in every category, there's a product.
Bestseller.
Yes.
Yeah.
And price point.
Yeah. I love that.
Very, very cool. So you mentioned that you sell canned sardines. So you do have a couple of non-perishable items.
We do.
And is that based on, your personal preference because you love canned sardines? Or
you know what I loved? I loved the artwork on canned sardines. I love the packaging.
Yes.
It is beautiful. The packaging is really nice.
But
Yes.
I love food. Mm-hmm. So I love the canned octopus, all the canned, they're easy to take to work. Easy to open, put on a piece of bread. You get your vitamins, you get your omegas. We're good. So a lot of the products,
awesome.
Our shop is small, so we have very limited space. So a bit at the beginning stages, what was important was to showcase a variety. I wanted a lifestyle shop where it wasn't just one, like a ceramic or a kitchen store, or wasn't only an apothecary. I wanted Portugal to be represented. And so we have a bit of everything. Jewelry, we have handbags, but also for me was important to represent Portugal, to represent every aspect, from the north to the south, to the small town, to, the islands. For me, I wanted people to walk in and say, do you carry something from Pico? And I'd be like, yes. Do you carry something from Alentejo? And I want to say yes. And that doesn't happen all the time because we have to bring in new collections. Every month, we bring in a new artist because to have, new product. So sometimes, people be like, oh, I come from this part. They have this amazing stuff. And I'll be like, oh, we had this here 3 months ago, but, it sold out. People loved it. And then eventually we bring it back. So for us, that was important. The representation. I believe in equity, and social justice is one of my other passions. And so for me, it's important that everyone feels represented and feels that they should be proud from where they are. Like no one place, not a city is not better than a town. The north is not better than the south. That kind of stuff. Like everyone should be proud.
Amen sister. Is right.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And so that needed to be represented in the shop for me.
Good for you. That's awesome. All right. So again, if you have listeners, if you haven't gone to Facebook and looked up Saudade Toronto,
what the heck are you waiting for? Get in there.
And then go to the website as well. So this is, this podcast started out as a food podcast. So we have to ask you some food questions.
Yes.
So some of the ones we start out with are like, do you have a first food memory from when you were a child? And, one of the first foods that you remember eating? It doesn't have to be Portuguese, but if it is, that's all the better.
Oh, I do. And it's vivid. My mom used to make a sorda for me as a child. And because she's from Alentejo, and I remember I loved it, and no one else in my family loved it at the time.
I love a
I loved, and to this day, when I go to my mom's town, Santa Luzia, in Alentejo, Baixo Alentejo, my aunt, my cousins, they will always make my favorite dishes, and it's like a sorda is waiting for me, and migas, which is the bread. When they make
migas,
and I love that's my first memory. Is there too of my mom making me? It was like a comfort food. It was like it was always like.
Now, what type of a sorda? Because there's all different types of a sorda.
Actually, you know what, there are, and I love them all. But the one that she used to make was just a very simple one, like with just the bread, the coriander, the egg, and maybe some codfish. Maybe back then, I don't know. Actually,
yeah. You could have codfish. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So maybe I think it was very simple. It was that soup. That bread soup. But I remember it also. What I think the reason this is my first memory, and I see sitting in the kitchen, it was also because it was also a time that my mom seemed so calm and at peace, right? Because I can't imagine immigration is the hardest thing. When I went to live in Japan, once I was on a train, I arrived in Japan to a good job. But I couldn't speak the language. I couldn't take out money from an ATM. And I remember for the first time being on a train going from Kyoto to Osaka, and I just cried uncontrollably because I thought of my mom at 25, arriving here, not knowing anyone, not speaking English. And I just thought of all the times that she must have been, the fear and, how hard, like what she had to endure. And so the sort of reminds me of a time where she used to sing, and she would be calm, and it was her refuge, right? Going back to her town, cooking her food.
Yeah.
And it was, and as a child, that's what I remember. She was the happiest when she made those dishes.
Nice.
That's really sweet. Memory. Do you have, so that's your first food memory, but then do you have like a favorite dish that she would make? Like if you go, I don't know, is your mom still alive?
Yes, she is, thankfully, yes.
So when you have her, Mom, can you make me this? I'm really missing this. Do you have like a favorite dish that she makes you?
Oh my God, everything, because I'm a horrible cook. I don't want to admit to that. I am, and everything and my dad's a great cook too. So from carne porca alentejana to seafood rice to the octopus to, oh my gosh, I love it all. I'm always like, please invite me over. Invite me. Or come, and if, she'll come and drop off dishes for my kids and I, but those, I love carne porca alentejana. I love bacalhau à Brás. I love bacalhau à gomes. I love bacalhau anyway. And I love I don't think I've ever tried a Portuguese dish that I didn't like.
Yes.
And I can say that.
So even like dobrada?
Yeah, well, dobrada, yes. Okay. So dobrada has a story because I loved dobrada as a kid, loved it. And then, that food you eat right before you get the flu? And then all of a sudden you are in bed for you. Yeah, and then after that, so that happened with dobrada. My parents were having a dinner party. They had made feijoada with dobrada, and that I loved it. So I remember sitting eating, and that night I had a major fever. I had the flu, and I have not loved it as much since. But not the feijoada, still fine. The dobrada, not as much. But I do eat it. But it was that memory that kind of ruined it for me for a while.
Right. So there's nothing, there's no Portuguese food or anything that you've I don't like that. Or I could,
I'm sure
I'll order something else.
If you asked me this in my 20s, I would have given you different answers. And now, no. Now I love, there really isn't. I can't think. I'm going in my head right now, I'm going through and I'm like, no, there hasn't been. I love food and I love food. I find that, no matter where you're from, food, this is also globally. I love I love, Japanese food. I love Malaysian food. I love Mexican food. So I love food. But in Portugal, I find that it's also very made with the really simple ingredients. It's really, it's fresh. It's this, the taste is incredible. From mussels to clams to barnacle. Like I like lapage. I love it all. I do.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So you said that you're not a great cook.
No.
But have you tried to make anything Portuguese? And like, I don't know, maybe there's that one dish that you actually can make. Or do you just don't even try?
You know what? I'll make calverde, which I love. I'll make my mom, I've gone through, friends come over. I've tried, do them in, like the bacalhau in the oven. I've tried to make seafood rice. Well, it wasn't as liquidy as it should have been, but I do. I do try. I do try. It's just, I think I just get nervous. It's actually a goal of mine to be able to cook Portuguese well, because I would not want my kids not to have it in their lives and not to have stories that they can pass on about, Portuguese cuisine. So it is definitely like, I do try.
Oh, now, how many children do you have, Nancy?
I have two. I have an 11-year-old daughter, Mia, and I have an 8-year-old son, Max.
So now they eat at Vava's. And,
yes, and we're so happy. I'm always like, say thank you in Portuguese, because my mom will be like, they try. I'm like, yes, we're so lucky that, and like I said, my dad's also a great cook. So both of them, I'm always like, we are so lucky. We have to say thank you a lot when we go over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're still surrounded with it, which is amazing. And that's a wonderful thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they do, and they love it. And they actually like the soups. They love the fish. They love the seafood. So even when we go to Portugal, when my kids, we go as a family, they are excited. They have their favorite restaurants, or they have their favorite like kiosks to go to, and they can't wait to try this dessert here.
That's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let me ask you this question. I know we're coming to an hour already of us talking, and this is exactly how things go with this podcast. Things go very, very fast. What's next, Nancy? What's next for you?
That's a great question. I would love. I think I would just love to continue promoting the design and the talent, and I would love to keep showcasing in North America the beauty. And I just want, like, everything we do, like both of you, like that's such an incredible contribution to our story, right? The story, like the systemic story of the Portuguese. So I just want people to feel really proud of where they are and what they're doing.
And Portugal should pay us for doing that.
Yes, I do agree. I say yes. It is like, I've always said, I'm so proud to be a daughter of immigrants. Daughter or son, we are always that in the country your parents immigrated to, and in Portugal, right? In Portugal, say filha de imigrante. And here, you're a daughter of immigrants. So that is my identity. Right?
Yes,
and I feel so lucky.
I had this conversation with someone the other day, and that was when here I was the immigrant. I am the immigrant, and because I did come here. And when I go there, I'm introduced as, this is my cousin, the immigrant.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Because I'm the immigrant there. And I will, but you know what? But that's a label that I'm very proud of.
Me too. And that's what we all need to be, right? Is proud to be the daughter of immigrants or the immigrant, because we have to have Toronto in my blood, to have Canada in my blood, to have Portugal. How lucky that we've been influenced by so much and so many wonderful factors. And so for me, that's, I think, what the future, I just want that feeling where we talk and we collaborate and we support each other and we go forward in strength, because I've always valued, for me as a kid, like I always say to my students, choice is number one. To have choice is really important in life, right? Because we don't want to be stuck doing something just because that's all we can do, because someone else said we could. That's all we could do. So choice is important, and respect. Like my mom's friends who were cleaning ladies, that is the greatest job. Like, these are businesswomen. We have to honor that. That job is just equally important as needing any other job in the society. So that being proud, no matter what our stories are, we need to feel pride, because they're all beautiful stories. And I think, that's what I would like for the future.
Toronto's very lucky to have you there.
I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah.
I am. I'm very, yes.
It's a beautiful community. Very lucky that you opened up there. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it myself.
Yay.
So,
please come visit us.
Yes, I have to go back.
Yes, please come visit us. And I promise you, Fatima and I will have some sweets ready, some Portuguese, and some wine.
Well, know, funny. You're saying the women across from the bakery. Well, there was the last time I was there. Of course, I'm in like, Bob, we've got to go. My husband, I'm like, we've got to go in Little Italy. I mean, Little Portugal. And I'm like, because of course you'd see the little banners and you'd see the roosters, and you go, I'm in Portugal, because you'd see the little everywhere. So there, we park in this parking spot, and the whole wall of this parking lot was a big rooster, like this huge, like, design.
Yes.
And it's right on the side of a bakery. So we go inside in that bakery, but across the street, almost diagonal, is another Portuguese bakery. So I'm like, well,
that's right.
I've got to go to both, because I can't go to one and not go to the other. So I go to one, and that was wonderful. And oh my God, just everything was fantastic. And I had coffee and something there. And then we go to the other one, and I saw, and I know exactly which group of ladies they were that went over to your place, because I know exactly, because they were all in that bakery, all sitting down, having their coffees, and you could see that they were all friends. And I went over and I sat with them, and I said, this looks like the place to be. And I sat with them, and they're like, oh yes, we're friends. We come here every day. We have our coffee, but of course, all in Portuguese, of course. And
how beautiful.
I know exactly which ladies you're talking about.
Yes, how beautiful. And that's the beauty of that neighborhood of Little Portugal is, you have, at that coffee shop, you have, a table of 20-year-olds and those beautiful ladies who meet every day. And the importance of that community, socializing. Yeah.
That's their community.
You guys, I want to be an old lady with a bunch of friends that goes for coffee every day.
Let's do it.
Me too.
I so want that when I'm 90.
Me too.
You know what? Because we want that, Angela, we'll have that. We absolutely will.
Yes, you will.
Well,
yes,
only
you will.
If you move here, Maria.
I'm sorry, honey.
Aw.
I said only if you move here, or I move there.
Aw, how great.
I gotta find me some Portuguese ladies in my area.
Absolutely.
Yes, you do. But how
funny.
Beautiful.
Well, this has been awesome. If you ever want to expand to California, you let me know, because
I will.
I will run the shop for you.
Absolutely. We have a lot of our online shop. We sell a lot to California. We sell a lot to a lot of places in the States, but California is a huge. One of our huge markets. So
excellent.
There's definitely a demand.
I think we're going to be talking after we finish with this podcast. We're going to be talking offline, guys. So there you go.
Yes, absolutely.
Business opportunity, number 10, because we don't have anything else to do, right? We're not busy at all. No, this has been great, and kudos to you again. Absolutely. We're so proud of everything that you've done.
We're so proud of you, Nancy. We're so proud of you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I'm proud of you guys. Thank you. For doing what you're doing, and the commitment and the dedication, and for being so welcoming and down to earth. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Like you, this is something that we have fun doing, and we're passionate about and love it. Just, if it could only pay all the bills, that would be even better.
But that's okay. It's all right.
It's all right. We're still going to
do it.
Keep going at it. Yeah, keep going. Something will come out of it.
From the outset, from the outset, Maria and I said, well, even if nobody listens and it's just the two of us talking to each other, we're still going to do it because it's fun and we want to do it. So, well, thank you again, Nancy, for being with us and spending some time. We hope that our listeners will visit your website and do a little patronage, buy a dish, or linen or something. Please do. You have beautiful, beautiful stuff. And parabéns to all the work that you've done. It's been really great. So, and thanks everybody out there for listening and joining us for another episode of Our Portuguese Table. We hope you have enjoyed it. And if you haven't hit subscribe, well, after this episode, really. I don't know why you would not hit subscribe. And please share with your friends and family and send us a message. Tell us what you want to hear about. We love hearing from you.
Send us some ideas if you have any. We'd love to hear it.
And with that,
até a próxima, querida.
Até a próxima.
Thanks again for listening to our Portuguese Table podcast.
If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so on SoundCloud or iTunes.
And all episodes can be found on our website at www.ourportuguesetable.com.
You can also reach us at feedback@ourportuguesetable.com with comments, questions, or suggestions.
Até a próxima!